Have you ever noticed that some people don't say much, but when they do, you go, wow. You know, we ought to listen to these people. Because there's about 20% of the human population that offer us a model for gentle human dignity without all the ego involved. And this would be what we call the white personality. The white color stands for the inner impulse to action, the motive of peace. Now think with me, or think for me, either one. What does peace mean? Peace is more than just the absence of conflict, however that's involved in it. But there's much more to it. Peace includes inner harmony, inner tranquility, an inner sense of no tension, no stress, no anxiety. We have 20% of the human race, again equally split between male and female, who are motivated by peace. These highly logical people get up in the morning, and the impulse that drives them is inner tranquility, inner harmony, no conflict. Now, how could that possibly be? We did a training recently where I had, it was for married couples. We had a red woman married to a white man. At this point in the training, the red woman said, "I don't get that. How could peace motivate anything?" And I said, well, you know, that's a great question. And I'm a certified trainer, but I'm a yellow. And so I opened that question, how can peace motivate a person, to that group. We had 5 whites in the group that day. And I said, "Whites, would you please explain to us how peace drives your behavior?" Well, we waited for, I don't know, it must have been 7 or 8 minutes. Finally, one of the whites spoke up and he pointed to the red woman and he said, "Do you know how you feel when you're at B?" She said, "When I'm at what?" He said, "When you're at B. You know how that feels?" And she said, "Well, yeah, it feels great. It feels awesome. It feels wonderful. That's the best feeling in the world." He said, "We already feel that way." Another white spoke up and said, "Yeah, we don't have to do anything to feel good inside. We already do." Another white spoke up and said, "Yeah, we basically spend our whole lives trying to keep people like the rest of you all from taking away what we already have." The white personality comes with gifts as well that are vital to any kind of an organization or teamwork. Whites possess tremendous clarity. You know, if you have a complex problem that you're trying to deal with, you know what my advice to you would be? Seek out a healthy white. Because these people, Patrick Lencioni, who wrote The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, he defined clarity like this. Clarity is the removal of ambiguity and assumption. It is removing the emotions that shouldn't be there and the facts and the data that don't apply. And what you are left with is this gift of clarity. The white personality, these are the people that bring us this gift. How valuable is that? The word clarity itself is very closely associated to the word wisdom. We're all familiar with the scripture that says, "If any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives liberally and upbraideth not." Well, if you look at that word wisdom, you're going to find that it has to do with clearness. Okay? So these whites, sometimes I call them old souls. They seem like they come here to the earth and they've got this knowledge of, you know, they experience time different than the rest of us. They don't move as fast as we do. They don't seem to be as pressured as the rest of us, but they have this wisdom about them that is just uncanny. Secondarily, they're very patient people. Now, the word patience refers to the ability to remain in a state of self-control, even in the midst of chaos, confusion, or an emergency. Now, how important are people like that? Very, I'd say. All right? So, patience is also the ability to take a long-range view of what's going on. Now, aren't you glad God has got some white in His personality? Aren't you glad He's patient when He looks at you and me? I sure am. Now let's look at the needs and wants of this personality, because the needs and wants kind of give us a roadmap as to how we can have a good relationship with this person. And, you know, I'm sure you're beginning to see already. Let's take a church staff, for instance. Let's say you've got a red personality working with a white personality. Watch these needs and wants that I'm about to tell you about, and understand how there could be unproductive personal conflict between a red personality and a white personality, and it could come right from their emotional needs and wants that are very closely tied to the motive, I might add. All right, here they come. White needs and wants. Whites, first of all, need to feel good inside. So your first question is, if you're dealing with a white, do they feel good inside when they're around me? A white child, a white spouse, a white colleague? Or do I create turmoil inside that person? Number two, the white personality needs its own space. Where do you think your white teenagers go when they come home from school? Right to their room, and they shut the door and they stay in there for hours. Our white colleagues at work, often they like their own space, their own cubicle, their own office. These people are often introverts. That refers to where they get their best energy. The white personality and the blue personality get their best energy often through quiet contemplation or meditation, alone time. Very contemplative people. Where the reds and the yellows, we tend to be extroverts. We get our best energy being around people. All right? Now, whites also need to be respected, but it's a little different than the red. The red wants to be respected for the bridge they built. The white wants to be respected because they breathe. They're a human being. Whites also need to be accepted. And they also want to withhold insecurities. Just don't rock the boat on this. I'm okay, you're okay, is the way they see it. They want to please self and they want to please others. Obviously, that maintains the peace, doesn't it? They're also fiercely independent souls. The word independent means they have their own opinions and beliefs, and they are not easily influenced by the opinions and beliefs of others. Independence is a big deal with whites. They also love to be content. I love this about the white personality. They don't have to have Abercrombie on their sweatshirt. They don't have to have a Nike swoosh on their tennis shoe. They don't have to drive a brand new car. They are content with what they have. They're not all shook up about what they don't have. And that's a pretty divine trait, I might add. Now let's look at their strengths. White personality people, these people are the kindest individuals you're ever going to meet. They're very balanced in their temperament, not a lot of the extremes we see in the other personalities. They are the self-control specialists when it comes to emotional intelligence. They don't discriminate. They don't care. You can have 3 earrings in your right eyeball, and to a white, that doesn't make you a bad person. So they're very non-judgmental individuals. They're self-regulated. They love to move out at their own pace. If you tell a white to hurry up, be careful, because they're probably going to slow down. All right? They're self-regulated. They are absolutely the best listeners of any of the personality types. They are the inventors among us. Because of their patience and their high logic, they will often go out in the garage and just tinker with things. They love, white is the color and the personality of high technology. If you go down to Best Buy right now and go into the Geek Squad, you're going to see a lot of whites behind the counter. They love computers. They love video games. They love science. They're often excellent at math, any chemistry, any kind of a thing like that. On the downside, whites can often limit themselves by being timid. They may lack self-confidence. They may be indecisive. Just ask a white where they want to go to dinner. Why would they know tonight? They've never known. You know, wherever you want to go, I don't care. Up to you. You make the choice. Whatever. But why are whites indecisive? The motive. If they say to me, let's go get fried chicken, and I say, oh man, I had fried chicken last week, all of a sudden the white interprets that as conflict, and they think, I wish I would have just said nothing. Just wherever you want to go, I'll find food. It's all right. Whites can be a little unmotivated. Whites are very contemplative people. The word of objective, which is another strength of theirs, is the ability to look at a problem from all and every angle. So whites, if they're trying to decide what they're going to do for a living or what they're going to do in college or the next decision, they often will look at that problem for a very long time. And so they don't move out quickly, which we find this frustrates other people because we want to say, hey, let's go. And the white is like, I'm not through thinking about this yet. So this can cause the white personality to appear quite unmotivated. It's like ready, aim, 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 and the reds are saying, pull the trigger! Whites can be silently stubborn. This is a big deal with the white personality, and they can be quite unexpressive. Most of us can read another's emotions by looking at their face, but whites often have the same facial expressions for laughing hysterically and deep anger, and that look is usually something like this. You can't read them. They're hard to read. Unexpressive. Whites can be quite boring, but trust me, they're not bored. They just appear boring. Whites see everything. They take everything in. They're great listeners. But they can sometimes appear quite detached. They don't require a lot of social interaction. Being introverts, they're often nonverbal. So you have to pay attention to the white personality to understand what's going on inside them. They won't fight you for the floor during a business meeting. They'll often be the one who sits in the meeting all meeting long and doesn't say anything, but guess who's had the answer for the last 2 hours? So in leadership, I often say if you've got a member of your team that's white, stop every now and then and just look at them and say, I'd be interested to know what you're thinking at this point, and then be quiet and let the white speak at his own pace. Okay, now let's look at the jobs or professions that would appeal to a white personality. Things like police officer and military, lawyer, dentist, programmer, researcher, engineer, forest ranger, veterinarian, archaeologist. What would these kinds of professions have in common? Well, they allow this person to do their work at their own pace, in their own space, in their own way, using reason and logic and methodologies that they are comfortable with. The one item that surprises us here is why would a person motivated by peace want to go into such a potentially violent profession as being a police officer or serving in the military? I actually had a 14-year captain of the Marine Corps that sent me a piece of paper that he wrote on during a training. And he wrote at the top, why whites like uniform professions. And the reason is that the uniform tells it all. My name is right here. I don't have to say a word. The military uniform would have my bars right up here. That tells you what my authority is. So I don't have to tell you anything again. And over here, my stripes and bars, this tells you where I've been and how good I am. So I don't have to brag. The uniform says it all for the white. And over the years, having trained hundreds, if not thousands, of white personalities, they tell me this is often true. They say, when I put on the uniform, it gives me confidence. It helps me overcome my natural timidity, and it helps other people understand how I am to be treated. I don't have to be demanding of anyone. Some examples of whites that you might be familiar with. George Bush, 41, our president, white personality. Interesting the way that he approached the war in the Middle East with when Saddam Hussein took over Kuwait. It took George Bush, 41, a long run up to that war. He did not want to fight. But what often happens if you force confrontation with a white, because they're motivated by peace, they hate conflict so much that they'll often come at you with overwhelming force because they want to get it over with. They don't like it. And they often make great leaders. Some of the best CEOs that I've ever known are white personalities. They have to make big decisions, so they're able to listen to viewpoints that are different from theirs, think about it objectively, non-emotionally, reason it out, and then provide a good decision for the entire organization. The white personality, number one, we have to accept their individuality. They're a little bit different. They're cut from a little different kind of cloth. They are the nonconformists. So you have to create an informal, relaxed atmosphere. Combine firmness with kindness. Be patient with them. Make logical suggestions instead of mean-spirited demands. Do not be cruel and insensitive around a white. They hate that. Don't force immediate verbal expression. They hate that. Don't overwhelm them with too much. Put it in writing if you have several things. Just put it in a text or writing and give that to them. That works very well. And again, don't force confrontation. Finally, never, ever, ever interrupt a white when they're talking. Number one, they don't talk too much. But if you interrupt a white, the white will often turtle up, close down, and they're done talking to you. So you can remember this in a organizational setting with leadership teams. Maybe you've got somebody on your staff who's a white, and you're an excited yellow, and the white is trying to tell you something, and you interrupt them and say, "Oh, and I could do this." Or maybe you're a blue, and you say, "Oh, excuse me, I got a phone call." And then you go back to the white and say, "Now, what were you saying again?" And the white just looks up and goes, "Oh, it was nothing. Don't worry about it. Forget it." Okay? So this concludes our quick overview of the white personality. Hope you enjoyed it.